France, they call it haute couture. But have you ever heard of coupé couture? Mais non? Well, when the French say that they're talking about the Citroen DS4, it's put together like a normal C4, but its distinctive design means the cars are cut above its conventional cousin. Citroen kick-started the DS3 last spring. With the DS4, the next round is coming onto the market.
Our test driver, Mathis Kurat, says Citroën has achieved its aim of getting beyond the image of the pokey family car.
Mathis says there are 3 gasoline and 2 diesel engine options for the DS4. He's taking the 6-speed manual transmission 147 kilowatt THP 200 out for a spin. This model is only available in the Sport Chic line, which features the full set of options and sells for €28,400. The engine has a promising pithy sound, and Citroën says its growl competes with that of the Golf GTI. But the technical specs aren't quite as impressive as those of its German rival. The DS4 THP goes from 0 to 100 km/h in 8.5 seconds. Some 275 Newton-meters of torque means it packs quite a punch and has a maximum speed of 235 km/h. With its snub-nosed front end, featuring a low apron and a broad chrome radiator grille, the looks of the DS4 guarantee it'll be respected on the street. Seen from the side, the new Citroën looks dynamic and exciting. Its sharp edges and curves take the eye for a tour around the car. But how many doors does the DS4 have? It actually isn't a sporty coupe at all, but a 4-door. The car isn't giving that away though, because the rear doors, including the handles, are incorporated so well you have to take a second look to see them. But it could get hot for those in the back seat. The rear windows don't open. The DS series is reminiscent of Citroën's glorious past, when the design of the original DS made it into a style icon. Yet the designers say they had no intention of recreating the car known back then as the Goddess. Instead, the latest DS model's features are supposed to set new standards for modern design. The car relies on a series of subtle but stately details to do this. Our test driver, Mathis Kurat, says he thinks using double push-button control to change the lighting colour of the instrument panels is a great gimmick. And he says that while most cars have sun visors you pull down, the Citroën DS4s can be pushed up as well for an unobstructed view of the sky. Mathis also says that the 220-volt electric socket included in the central armrest of the Sport Chic model is practical for people on the go. The interior is true to the description, Sport Chic. It features a racy leather steering wheel and pedals cast in silver aluminium. These top-line models also come packed with an impressive number of features, among them a blind spot assistant, a red light mounted on the exterior mirror to warn the driver of passing vehicles, and there's also an electronic parking assistant with distance sensors and leather seats that can massage as well. The two-tone leather seats also give the interior a peppy, exciting look, and they're available in combinations of black and white red or brown. Our tester says that the white upholstery looks great when the car is new, but it doesn't stay white for long if drivers wear jeans or other clothing that isn't colour fast. The French designers have given this car fresh accents, put power under the hood and made the vehicle into something that's very much about looks. Mathis Courat sums up saying that he certainly considers the car an alternative to the more conservative competitors from Germany. A DS4 would be just the thing for anyone who wants to set their own accent above the drone of the conventional crowd on the street. In the past, the Mercedes was the top-flight luxury car. People who wanted the best quality and comfort money could buy got one. People interested in a sportier option had BMWs, but everything's changed since then. Audi's now moved up to join the other two luxury class cars. We want to know if the newcomer, the Audi A6, has actually surpassed its rivals. We compare the BMW-5, the A6 and the E-Class. To ensure a level playing field, each car has a 6-cylinder, around 300 horsepower engine. Let's start with Mercedes. It's soon noticeable that the E-Class is the longest running series in the group. The interior seems a bit musty and outmoded, especially in comparison to the C-Class Mercedes models that have all been given a CLS design facelift. The E-Class is still waiting for some bodywork and interior Botox. Then there's the engine. Mercedes says the 200-kilowatt E350 4MATIC needs 9.6 litres of fuel to go 100 kilometres, making the car less economical than the other two contenders. It's also got the slowest acceleration, taking 7.2 seconds to reach 100 km/h. Test driver Jan Horn says the engine is weakest in performance terms. Still, it's typical Mercedes with top marks for comfort and safety. In Germany, the Stuttgart-based car maker sells the car for just under €55,000. The price for that extra bit of safety, space and comfort. The BMW-5 sells for €55,700. For that price, buyers get a 5 Series that isn't just sporty but also easy to drive. Adjustable suspension makes it all possible. The BMW's engine can generate 225 kilowatts of power, giving it the best performance of the three. That shows when the car rockets up to 100 kilometers an hour in just under 6 seconds, and a maximum speed of around 250 km/h is standard. But what sets the BMW apart is how it drives. Twin-turbo technology and 400 Nm of torque at just 1,200 RPMs means the car comes on quickly. Jan says the BMW can do it all. It's a sports car, but with the push of a button, the suspension shifts to that of a luxury sedan. The car's delicate steering, a BMW speciality, makes cornering in a 5 fun. The engine is a real bruiser. It's powerful and can churn out the speed really well. The BMW is fast and graceful, but it blends sportiness with thrift as well. The BMW 5 uses only about 8.1 litres of fuel to go 100 kilometres. The Audi A6 still has a card up its sleeve. In comparison to the others, it's less expensive, selling for €51,600, a €3,000 saving, and it includes 4-wheel drive and an automatic transmission as standard equipment. Add to that the finest of interiors and a modern economical engine. And what's more, the 6-cylinder 220-kilowatt engine shoots the car to 100 kilometers an hour in 5.5 seconds. Jan says that in terms of sportiness, the Audi actually turns the tables on BMW and overtakes it. He thinks it's a bit over the top because cars classed at this luxury level shouldn't be so edgy and dynamic to drive. Although the Audi and the Merc have nearly the same weight, the Audi feels much lighter to drive. The car maker has actually built the sportiest luxury sedan of the three, and as a result is venturing into BMW territory. But sometimes the A6 is just a bit too zippy. Nevertheless, the car's manoeuvrability and braking set new standards. And when it comes to value for the money, neither the Mercedes nor the BMW can touch the A6. But overall, the cars are nose to nose. There's no question, all of them are great vehicles, but Mercedes is a bit too seasoned. That's left BMW and Audi to battle it out. The cars are nearly equally powered and have the same driving dynamics. BMW is more comfortable, but also pricier. That leaves the A6 with top marks and in first place. Just in time for the market launch of its 6 Series two-door, BMW has added a straight 6-cylinder to its range of engines. The new 230-kilowatt motor employs multi-stage turbocharging and common rail direct injection. The 6 Series Coupe's new adaptive LED headlights with high beam assistant and cornering lights also sets new standards. Drivers in Germany have to shell out close to €74,500 to call the coupe their own. Suzuki has equipped its Swift with automatic start-stop technology. When fitted with a 55-kilowatt 1.3-litre diesel engine, the Japanese subcompact can go 100 kilometres on 4.1 litres of fuel, and its CO2 emissions are an impressive 109 grams per kilometre. With the new engine, the 5-door Swift sells for just under €17,000 in Germany.
Lovely day.
Miriam is ready to go on vacation. She's excited and quickly tosses her things into the trunk, not considering the potential dangers. So, Miriam, let's go back and take everything out and start again. What's the right way to pack? Hubert Paulus from Audi A6 says the first tip for loading vehicles correctly is to place the heaviest items on the bottom and right against the back seats, so they don't gain momentum during an accident and break through the rear seats. He says lighter items can be stored on top. But he adds that if your trunk doesn't have a partition or separation net, you should cover everything with a blanket. Beforehand, you should preferably thread the straps through the tie-down rings, he advises, then cross the straps and tighten them so no items can be catapulted into the passenger compartment. Hubert says that this crash test clearly shows how every unsecured object becomes a projectile and puts the passengers at risk. That's why all items must be fastened down, he says, and notes that what secures passengers can secure their luggage too. Always use seatbelts to secure objects lying on the rear bench seat, he advises, or a child car seat that's not currently in use. So now the car's well packed, but is it otherwise ready for a long trip? Miriam decides to consult the experts. Lights should be in working order, and it's a good idea to take along replacement bulbs, just in case. Windshield wiper blades shouldn't be cracked or hard. The tyres shouldn't bulge, and the air pressure in them should be adjusted to compensate for the added weight of the cargo. Drivers should check their oil and top up the radiator and windshield wiper fluids. Audi A6's Christian Adler says it's important to have a readily accessible warning triangle and first aid kit. In Germany and many other countries, safety vests stored at the front of the car are a must because drivers need to put them on before exiting their vehicles. What if Miriam was also taking along a child or a dog? ADAC's Beate Papritz says buckling children up properly is most important. It's vital to use the right car seat, she says, and make sure the belts are fastened properly, as mistakes are often made. Dogs need brakes, she says, and children even more so. She recommends making a pit stop every 1.5 to 2 hours. Naturally, children get thirsty en route, she says, and advises against using glass bottles which could break and injure a child during sudden stops. She says stuffed toys are best things to amuse children, as there's no danger of them getting hurt, as they could buy toys which are sharp or pointy. And Beate has one last tip. Instead of reading continuously, children should take breaks to just look around to avoid getting car sick. She's packed. The car's in tip-top shape and the kids and dogs well looked after. There's just one thing Miriam's forgotten: to check the gas gauge. The VW Crafter is one of the most versatile utility vehicles on the road today. Now Volkswagen is bringing out a new series of Crafters which are especially economical to operate. VW says the 3 new TDI engines reduce fuel consumption by as much as 33%, while maintenance costs are cut by a quarter. With a choice of 5 different body types, there's a Crafter to suit almost any job. For instance, this is the fully seated Combi van with space for 9 passengers. The version with the longest wheelbase can be fitted with up to 19 seats. But of course, the Crafter is also available as a pure transport vehicle, as a panel van, flatbed truck, or as a simple chassis cab. Three different chassis make for even more flexibility. The shortest version has a wheelbase of 3.25 metres, the longest over 4.3 metres. VW is the first manufacturer in the Crafter's vehicle class to offer a twin-turbo diesel engine. Its 2-litre TDI motor boasts 120 kilowatts of power. When combined with optional fuel-saving technologies like a start-stop system and brake energy regeneration, the Crafter has a fuel consumption of 7.2 litres per 100 kilometres. The flatbed Crafter is mainly used to transport people and materials around construction sites. Easy to load, it has a payload of almost 2.8 tonnes. As with the panel van, the flatbed is available in single or double cab versions. Loading the flatbed is a cinch, as all the sides can be folded down. Most car drivers can only dream of versatility like that. The Jaufen Pass in the Italian Alps is the ideal launching pad for the Lamborghini Countach. It's like a cross between a car and a spaceship. Its market premiere in 1973 triggered an earthquake in the sports car industry. The design took everything to the extreme.
Lambo, Lambo, Lambo.
Test driver Christoph Bauer says he's dreamed of driving a Lamborghini Countach since he was a child. In the early 70s, it was the fastest car on the road, with a top speed of 300 kilometres and a V12 engine with 375 horsepower. 0 to 100 takes under 6 seconds, but the gas pedal's not that sensitive, he says. So, a typical racing car. You need a firm hold on the wheel and a heavy foot on the gas. At 3,000 revs, it starts to wake up, he says. At 4,000, it starts to roar. And upwards of 5,500, all hell breaks loose. The Countach is definitely a looker. Just 1.07 metres high, it guarantees to turn heads. The fastest way to draw a crowd is to have the Countach spread its wings. The only concession to the driver is the air conditioning. There are a few other creature comforts. The V12 4-litre engine steals the show. When the revs tip 8,000, the Countach hits its limit of 375 horsepower, but the car never reaches its top speed of 300 kilometres. But in 1974, 288 kilometres an hour was enough for it to be called the fastest car on the road. Christoph Bauer says it's a good thing the air conditioning works so well because the windows don't. They only open a crack, he says. There's not much luxury here generally. The dashboard fittings look like they've been bought up at a local accessory shop. But then the Countach has its strengths elsewhere, he says.
Zubehörartikelladen, edel ist was anderes. Aber gut, bei diesem Auto kommt es auch auf andere Werte an.
Designer Marcello Gandini said he wanted to create a car that would cause onlookers to stand open-mouthed.
Also dieses Auto.
Christoph says the car is the ultimate challenge. He thinks his left leg will be aching tomorrow from working the clutch. Inside the car's not so wonderful, he says, but outside it's a sensation. The Bertone design studio really created something unparalleled, especially when you think the car was unveiled in 1971, he says. Production started in 1973 and continued until 1990, and it still looks futuristic today. Someone just asked him in the car park if this is the latest Lambo. He says, Marcello Gandini was definitely ahead of his time. And the engine was the first to be installed longitudinally, he says, which is now standard for all Italian super sports cars. And the engine doesn't just look good, he says, it sounds sensational.
Der Motor ist nicht nur wunderschön, er klingt auch sensationell.
12-cylinder engines are a long-standing tradition at Lamborghini. In 1964, the Gran Turismo 350 GT was the first to take the road with its 270 horsepower. Overnight, the Lamborghini legend was born. In 1966, the Lamborghini Miura followed. It had a mid-engine layout which set a new trend for future super sports cars. The Miura is still considered one of the most beautiful sports cars of all time. The extreme wedge-like shape of the Countach, on the other hand, came as quite a shock, particularly the final series with its conspicuous vents for cooling the engine. With just two protruding cooler vents, the flowing lines of the first Countach series were definitely more harmonious. After the first test drives, the radiators located behind the cockpit had to be repositioned vertically. That was the only way to keep the temperature of the engine, which was positioned in front of the rear axle, under control. When it came to fuel consumption, the engineers were less fussy. The 12-cylinder engine with its 6 Weber carburetors is a real guzzler. Christoph says any Countach driver will be a regular at the local gas station as the car consumes at least 20 litres and can use a whole lot more. But the good thing, he says, is that you can fill it up from both sides. The two tanks are linked with a fuel equaliser. But the process takes forever, he says.
Aber bis dieser Ausgleich stattgefunden hat, vergehen Jahre.
The car requires premium-grade gasoline and holds a total of 120 litres of fuel in all, so filling up the car on both sides at the same time doesn't just look good, it saves a lot of time. The twin tanks help to balance the car and keep its centre of gravity stable. Thanks to the aluminium bodywork, the Countach only weighs 1,375 kilos, which together with the racing car chassis means it handles well on bends. It'd be no good for people with a high-rise hairstyle, says Christoph. In fact, everything's a bit cramped. That's the disadvantage of a mid-engine layout, he says. You have to share the space with the engine, transmission, all the mechanical parts, but it's definitely wide, not so ideal for narrow mountain roads. Better for the highway, but great on bends, he says.
Kurven darf sie haben, auf alle Fälle.
The car's greatest weakness, zero rear-view visibility, is also less of a problem on the highway.
Jawohl, ja, das ist Musik. Lambo, Lambo, Lambo.
It's hardly surprising that the Countach is considered another milestone in the collection at the Zeithaus Classic Car Museum in Wolfsburg.